Let us begin by introducing the members of the board. I'm Don Schoenheider from the 3rd Ward. And would the other members of the board introduce themselves, beginning with my left?
Maddie Dugan, 3rd Ward.
Stuart Trey, 2nd Ward.
Lloyd Culbertson, 4th Ward.
Peggy Vignacchi, 2nd Ward.
Charlie King, 2nd Ward.
Thank you. The board is here tonight to work together with all of you, property owners, architects, neighbors, and interested citizens, to continue the long tradition that allows community members to work together to preserve the qualities and the unique character that make Lake Forest a special community. We recognize the personal importance of each petitioner's request, and our goal is to respect the requests of the owner while balancing the interests of the community as a whole, to preserve, complement, and enhance its architectural character and heritage. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Building Review Board, the types of projects that come before the board are those in which property owners are requesting a variance to allow a home that is larger than permitted by code, are seeking a demolition permit for a replacement structure, or otherwise involve issues that cannot be fully resolved with city staff. Speaking of which, may I ask city staff to introduce themselves?
Peter Coutin.
Kathy Cerny.
Thank you very much. It's important to note that over 95% of building permits are issued by the city without the need for any building review board input. Thus, the board typically deals with the most challenging and sometimes controversial projects. The City of Lake Forest is committed to conducting open and fair meetings. To achieve that goal, the board has adopted meeting procedures so that all parties will be provided an opportunity to speak. These procedures are outlined in the agendas available at the back of the room, and this meeting is also available and broadcast on cable television. Speaking on behalf of the entire board and city staff, our objective is to provide a review process that is thorough, fair, and without unnecessary delay. The next order of business for the agenda tonight is a request for approval of revisions to a previously approved plan for the athletic complex at Lake Forest Academy, located at 1500 West Kennedy Road. The owner is Lake Forest Academy, and the representative here tonight is Peter Whitmer. Peter, good evening.
Thank you. I just want to go through quickly our modifications here. This is, I want to show the original site plan. It was approved about a year ago, and this is a site plan. North is up, and you come in the existing drive. This was the original design that was approved last November, and I just want to show you the comparisons of what we're doing versus what was approved. The drive comes in here. There's a parking area here. This is what we just completed the construction of, which is a building, basically locker rooms in front of the ice hockey rink with a connection. This is the piece that we're looking for approval on. This is the front elevation that we got approved. And basically what we've done is just eliminated the rotunda piece to it in the lobby and relocated the entrance to this building really in the center part here. This is just the overall site plan. Again, this is the piece that we're eliminating, keeping this 2-story piece. This is already constructed. The one thing that we did with the site plan, because our building is slightly smaller in the north-south direction, we're able to change this site plan and keep pretty much the location of this turn drive where it is, which allowed us to keep this basketball court here. I'll just quickly go back here. This is the original design. This road was actually moved further down, and this court was eliminated. In our new scheme, we're able to keep all this and have this drive basically in the same location. The other thing that we did, the old scheme actually had a little S-turn in here to come into this parking lot. And one thing, I don't know if you've driven around much on the campus, but trying to separate the traffic from the pedestrian students is really a challenge. We feel like this is much better because you come down, and now if people don't know where they're going, your tendency is to drive straight and turn around and then come back out, which I think will make the turnarounds versus the way it was before is you turn in here and then you try to figure out how to get turned around in here. There really isn't a logical place. There are also thoughts of putting some signage here to limit the access there. So I think that that's a real improvement in terms of the overall campus design. The other thing I'll point out is this strong access that exists currently with the existing gymnasium and Reed Hall, which is really a strong pedestrian access. Kids basically walk from there down through that campus all the time, and we're retaining that. This is that access. This is looking back toward Reed Hall, and then this is looking down at the existing gym, Galore Gym, and basically our doors line up with this. And this is really a pedestrian way more than it is a vehicular. And that parking lot, I think, will help solve that situation. Here's what's shaded here is what our new addition is at the front entrance that lines up on that axis. There's a large multi-purpose room to the south, and then to the north is an open commons area with a corridor that lines the east side, which connects up to the existing corridors. On the second floor, there's a fitness center, which overlooks then the green, the field hockey field, and also the access going back toward the campus. It's got a open stairwell now toward the east, and then an egress stair to the south. There's an elevator in the corner. Just a bigger floor. That's the first floor plan. These are the commons areas. And then the roof plan is pretty much the way the original design was. It's got a pitched roof on the front that comes back down, and then a big flat spot in the center, which hides our mechanical equipment. Keeps the scale of the roof really in proportion with the overall elevation. This is the south elevation with our front door. The prints, the copies that you have are slightly different. We've made two changes since we've submitted them. If you look at yours, this porch entrance was wider. And what we've done is we've narrowed it up and we've put two smaller windows on either side. We feel like the scale and proportion is better to this. This is not really the main entrance to this building. This is really where students come in. I feel like the main entrance is really what they built. And from the parking lot on this side, most people will be parking over here and coming in through the building this way. This is really just how the students come in, so there isn't really a need for a large portico with that. This is the parking lot side, the east elevation with the single-story piece. That's the existing gym above here, and this is that side door elevation. The original design had just a circular window here because these were egress stairs, and so they really didn't want the window. We really want the glass and the glass to come in down below because this is open to that common space so that you can see into that. Really benefit both from the interior and the exterior. This is the other side, which this is a egress fire stair, but we felt that we really ought to mimic the other side. And this is the other change that we had. On our original design that we had submitted, that's in your packet, just shows this all brick. And we really felt like that elevation really deserved a little bit more. There is future plans for a field house out on this side, and we just feel like this complements that end elevation much better than what we had previously thought. And this little door is really hidden. This piece sticks out a little bit. That's the mechanical door to the elevator, machine room. And then this just shows pictures of the existing piece that was built. And we really might pretty just much match up what's there. The same standing seam metal roof, same brick, same window configurations, and detailing really carries across. I think the only exception would be that the I think that in the original design that was submitted, and this one too, is that this is the end of that axis. I think the two-story piece really does hold that. It hides the old gymnasium, which has the big gable roof behind this, and really makes an end statement to the campus. I think with that, I'd like to turn it back over to you. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Peter. Comments by city staff?
Thank you, Chairman Schoenheider. As the board is aware, in November of 2008, you granted approval for expansion of the Academy's athletic facilities, which includes the addition to the ice arena, the Fitzsimmons Athletic Wing, which, as you know, and as Mr. Whitmer has explained, that portion of the project has been constructed and has been completed. And then the second portion being the expansion of the fitness and wellness center, the addition to Glore Gym. The revisions that are proposed are a reduction in size, really through the elimination of the rotunda portion of that project. The overall design of the fitness and wellness wing, we believe, continues to be, even with that elimination, continues to be a strong design and can stand on its own, and will be a very nice enhancement to the gymnasium. The two changes that Mr. Whitmer explained here this evening, I think staff would agree that they continue to be an enhancement to the design, and we support those changes that were just discussed. Our recommendation is for approval with really the same conditions that were part of the project when you granted the original approval back in November. I'd be happy to review those if you'd like. They're really standard conditions, though, regarding construction, access, and items like that. So, our recommendation is to approve these revisions, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Peter. Comments, questions from members of the board?
I have one. Why did you remove the rotunda?
I think when we went back through is really, for the economics of it.
I
think,
see.
Under the current economic conditions, we just went through the program and really see what we could live with and what we could live without. The one
Okay.
nice thing about this design is it doesn't preclude us from adding the rotunda at a future date.
Uh-huh.
So that, we really haven't, made it so that the storage room doors would come in the same way. We could have a rotunda there if we felt like that was the right thing to do in the future.
I see. Okay.
Frankly, I like the revised plan better than the original plan. And I like the south elevation changes and the bringing the window back into the west elevation that isn't in our packet, but you showed us on the screen. I think it looks great.
What, any comments?
I have just one question. You said that the south elevation, you changed that entrance because that's not considered the main entrance? Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
Well, I think I did say that. You might think, just from looking at the floor plan, that's where most people come in, just because the gymnasium's above it, and you have an event, you might come out that way. But I think this is a building with multiple entrances. To me, the main entrance of a building is the closest people park their car to. And most people come that way. It's more of a student entrance to it. But I think it's important to show that access and that entrance and that, portico that lines up walking down the center of the campus, so that we do maintain those doors right down through the center.
Okay.
I'd like to note that I'm acquainted socially with Mr. Whitmer. One question, Peter, the second story there, I'm a little confused with the facade there. You've got, those are fiberglass columns in between the windows?
These are piers, like brick piers that sit down.
Okay.
And then on top of that, there's a precast stone cap, and then a fiberglass composite column.
Okay.
that sits
I was
on top.
curious what they were resting on.
Yeah, that sits on like a stone base. That band, it's currently on the existing addition that we did. That just kind of follows along, and it picks up these heads that goes across here too.
Thank you.
Peter, just a couple questions. You did mention the access to the building. I remember in the prior submittal, part of the reason you'd done the rotunda was to create a couple of different access points maybe that you hadn't had before. Are there fewer access points to the building now, or are they the same?
You know, I think there's actually the same number, because in the original design, we didn't keep this set of doors here, which the parking lot's here. So I think what we thought, in sort of living through the way it is now, we feel like that set of doors is pretty important and gets used quite a bit. So we have one here, and I think what we've done is just eliminated this one and moved this one over here, so that we still have, you know, this access point. Instead of having this one, we have this one. We probably gained this one, kept this one, and kept that one. So I think we probably have gained one.
Gain one, okay, great. And on the prior plan as well with the rotunda, I know it was really well landscaped. Any landscaping changes, design changes there at all?
Pretty much not. I think in our new design, there's landscaping areas along the building this way, and that really is just gonna carry through in these pieces here in front. And then we have parkway trees that can go along here, which help to shield that parking a little bit from the drive. So virtually, it's
Same.
pretty much gonna be the same.
And then the last question, you were mentioning, it shows on the plan synthetic wood trim. You've got fiberglass columns. I'm assuming the columns at the entranceway and the door are also fiberglass or not
Correct.
wood. Any reason other than just general maintenance?
Well, I tell you, the difference between the fiberglass columns and the maintenance and a wood column is night and day. I mean, they just hold up. You know, it's the same for the 5-bond trim and all that. You know, I think in terms of being green and sustainable, it'll last. You probably replace the columns 4 times, 5 times compared to the fiberglass ones.
All right. Okay, thank you. At this point, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on behalf or in regard to the petition? Seeing none or hearing none, I'll go back to city staff for any other final comments. And at this point, I'll take it to the board for any comments, final questions, or any other deliberation. Sounds like we've satisfied everything. Then, at this point, if everyone's comfortable, I'd like to ask for a motion on the petition, please.
I move that we approve the petition as presented, with taking into consideration the recommendations of staff.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. Second by Stewart. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll take it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, approved. Congratulations, thank you. The next item on the agenda this evening is a request for approval of a building scale variance to allow construction of an accessory structure located at 701 Leland Court. The owners are Terry and Kathleen Ship, and the representative tonight is Tom Donahue.
Good evening. It's been a little while since I've presented before the board, so those who don't know me, I am Tom Donahue, Donahue Design and Swanson Downey Architects. I am here representing my clients, Terry and Kathleen Shipp. Ms. Shipp is in the audience right now. And we are here to request a building scale variance for a accessory structure at 701 Leland Court at the Shipp residence for a pool cabana. The, as you can see, let me use the pointer here. This is an aerial off of Google. They have their lot is quite large. It's 1.92 acres. And here's Leland Court. This is north. And you can see it's heavily wooded around the backside of it. And in between the property lines, the landscaping is very mature and grown. And the backyard is barely visible at all from the street. So we feel that you really can't see the proposed structure from the street, and the area of the structure is right up in here. So I'm going to jump into the site plan. Currently, they have a very large yard, and their son is in soccer, so they'd like to maintain a large area here for the soccer field. They want to add a in-ground pool, 20 by 40 in-ground pool, and a pool cabana to service the pool. They're also adding a little spa tub at the top of the retaining wall. Some of the features of the site, the house was built in 2000, and currently, with a recent addition of about 2 years ago, the house is at its maximum bulk of 8,489 square feet, which is just a few feet shy of its total maximum. So the structure that we're requesting the variance would be the complete size of the structure, 403 square feet that we're requesting the variance size for. The actual footprint is 403 square feet, but the indoor living area is 362 square feet. The remaining area is for covered mechanicals for the pool equipment to help mitigate sound and unsightliness of the equipment. There's also a 88 square foot cedar pergola that's in front of the structure that falls under the design exemptions for elements in the house. I'm going to quickly run through some photographs. See the front of the house, you can see the heavily landscaped areas. This is the right side of the house. You can't really see the backyard. It's the backyard area, and the cabana is far beyond that. And you can see that landscaping between property lines, so you can barely see the neighbor. The closest house is right there, and even with leaves off the trees, it's not seen that well. Some additional photos. The cabana would be back on this side, on the left-hand side of the house. And you can see a further close-up photo of that. You can barely see there with the mature landscaping around it. And the backyard area, this is where the proposed pool is going to go, and the cabana would be off in this area. And this is some other shots of the yard. And this is the yard to the south. You can see it's heavily landscaped. And again, the neighboring house is just beyond these evergreens, which you can barely see that. And this shot is seen from the back of the pool looking towards the house. Some additional shots, and exactly right here is where the cabana is going to go. There are 3 trees, these 3 trees that will be affected by the location of the cabana. I have met with Mr. Glomsky, the forester on site, and he has reviewed the trees. My report had listed them as oak. They're actually ash, and he had no problem with the removal of these trees due to the the nature of the tree, the species of the tree, and the health condition they're in. A quick floor plan. You can see the spa tub. It's going to have a small little stream feature that dumps into the pool. The pool is proposed at 20 by 40. And then the cabana structure. Here's the mechanical room that has an open back wall, but it's covered, and some storage area. And then it's really just a little sitting area in between that has a fireplace, a TV area, and a kitchenette, a bath with service features for the cabana. And out in front is the pergola structure. This is the front elevation. It's stucco. The house style is country French. It has a cedar shake roof, freeform stucco walls, natural cedar timber corbels and brackets, and cedar trim around it. There is an eyebrow window above the front door that mimics the barrel ceiling proposed for the inside of the structure, and there's a copper roof on that. And then these doors are French doors that open completely, so it's a indoor-outdoor room. This is the back of the structure. Again, all you see is on the back side, which will be facing the woods, is the mechanical room. And the right side of the structure with the pergola out in front, and just door to mechanical room. There's an outdoor shower just for rinsing off prior to entering the pool. And the chimney serves the fireplace inside, which is just a prefab gas log fireplace, or it could be used for regular burning wood, but also serves as the chimney for the pool heater. It is capped with a copper terminator as well. And left side elevation facing the back of the house, this is an outdoor bar area that these windows will accordion style open, so it's an indoor-outdoor bar kitchenette. And again, the pergola over the front entry. And that concludes my presentation. I respectfully request variance for the bulk building scale ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donahue. Comments from city staff?
Thank you. Mr. Donahue reviewed the square footage numbers, but let me just recap those for the board. The existing house currently is right at the maximum allowable square footage, which is just under 8,500 square feet. So almost all of the square footage of the pool cabana will contribute as overage. Almost all of the square footage is associated with the variance. The square footage of the cabana itself is 400 square feet, so this is a 400 square foot overage, which is approximately 4.7% over the maximum allowable. For building scale variances, the board has criteria that are in the city code that you're required to make a positive finding on. The code requires that the board find that the project complies with standard 1 in the code, as well as at least one additional standard, and there are 6 total standards. With this project, based on the city staff's evaluation of it, we believe that this project complies with criteria 1, which is that it's consistent with the design guidelines of the city code. And that's based on the quality of the design, based on the quality of the materials, and the compatibility of the overall design with the house itself and with the surrounding neighborhood. And we also believe that although only one additional standard needs to be satisfied, we believe that this project complies with at least 3 other standards in the code. and I'll just briefly review those for you. We believe that this is compliant with standard 2 due to the amount of mature vegetation that's acts as screening at the perimeter of this property. This structure really will have limited, if any, visibility from surrounding properties due to the amount of landscape screening and vegetation. We believe that this complies with standard 3 due to the location of the cabana in the rear yard. It won't be visible from the streetscape, so we believe that it's sited in a manner that minimizes its appearance and mass from the streetscape. In standard 4, that the height and mass of the structure is compatible with the height and mass of the residents and with the height and masses of residences that are within the neighborhood. And again, based on the overall quality of the design, that it will not appear to be overscaled compared to other structures that surround it. So based on those reasons, the staff has written up positive findings of fact that are included in your staff report. And our recommendation is to grant approval of the building scale variance based on those findings of fact and with the conditions of approval that are in the staff report. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Peter. Any questions, comments from the board to Mr. Donnie? Patty?
I just have one question. You say the mechanical room is open to the outside. Are there any issues or about the noise from the mechanical room disturbing the neighbors to the north?
Typically, the pool equipment is often exposed on all 4 sides. I have enclosed it 3 sides and roofed it to help mitigate the noise. Plus, it's heavily wooded on that back side. In fact, you can see the 110 feet to the property line, all of which is heavily wooded. And then the adjacent house is I don't know the exact dimension, but at least another 50, 60 feet or more off of that property line. So I don't believe noise is going to be any issue at all.
Okay. Thank you.
So the back of it is open, and this is done for convenience in changing equipment rather than trying to work filters and pumps and things through doors, or?
Yeah, for many reasons. Cooling reasons, you don't want to enclose
Yeah, okay.
and try to keep ventilation.
And you're right, a lot of these are just alongside of a house or something.
Correct.
Like an air conditioner, condenser for an air conditioner or something.
Correct.
Okay, all right, okay. Thank you.
Yes, I have several questions. If the staff would just refresh me, a pool is not included in bulk determinations?
That's correct. A swimming pool is not included in that bulk calculation.
I note that I think this, if my memory serves me, that the staff report says there are ash trees to be removed. The site plan actually says oak trees.
It's actually ash. That had been confirmed by the city
It is
forester.
ash trees, okay. I'd like to ask the petitioner, is there is the subject address part of a homeowners association?
I don't believe so. Is there a homeowners association? No, there isn't.
So there are no covenants that regulate construction of improvements on the property? Okay. Back to staff for a question. In your recommendation in 1A, you indicate that a note will be placed on the landscape plan stating that approval of the plan is for plantings only. Any lighting, garden structure, pool, fences, or other accessory structures will require separate approval and permits. Will that approval come from staff, or will it come through our board?
In this case, the pool obviously would be issued under a separate permit. And it's obviously, in this case, part of the project and the reason why the cabana is being built. That's actually a standard note that we put on all landscape plans, that our review and approval of the landscape plan itself is an approval of the planting material that's on that plan. So that if landscape lighting is shown on there or some other accessory structure shown on that plan, that our approval of the plan doesn't indicate an approval of those structures. So if there were additional lighting that were inconsistent with our lighting guidelines or other structures that would require the board's review, those would need to come back to the building review board.
My particular concern does revolve around lighting. I agree that the proposed improvement is relatively isolated, both from the street and from the neighbors. My concern, again, would be lighting. I wonder what the staff's approach would be. I note that there's very little in the residential lighting guidelines of the city of Lake Forest that contain the number of lights in backyards. I know there's a specific wording to limits on front yard lighting, but so what would the approach of staff be to the lighting of this improvement?
If a lighting plan, a landscape lighting plan is proposed, we would review that against the lighting guidelines that have been adopted by the city. Those lighting guidelines do limit, in some areas, the location and number of lighting. It doesn't allow lighting to be within a certain distance of the side and rear property lines, and also requires that the direction that those lights are aimed are kept within the property to not impact adjacent property owners. So we would begin with a review of any lighting plan, and if there were some inconsistency with those guidelines, a plan that exceeded those guidelines, that review could come back to the building review board to be evaluated. In this case, given the amount of screening that's around the property, you know, I think unlike other neighborhoods where there's significantly less mature vegetation, I would imagine in this case most of the lighting would have a minimal effect on neighboring properties, but we would certainly look at that and consider that in our review of the plan.
I note that one of the lighting guidelines is that all lighting except security and entrance door lighting shall be controlled by timers and shall be set to go off no later than 11 p.m. Would you envision that in this instance as well?
Yes, and that's a requirement of that we review when the plan comes in for permit, and that's reviewed when the lighting is inspected on site.
Thank you. Nothing more at this time.
Thanks, Lloyd. Thank you.
Yes, I have a question. Could you explain what the proposed pool surround material is, and is it impervious? And could you maybe outline exactly where it all goes, like around the building specifically?
Sure. Currently, everything this side, the house side of this retaining wall is existing, and it's bluestone paving.
Okay.
The pool deck around it right now has not quite been determined. It's really a matter of the pool company's design, but I believe I believe the intention is to be another bluestone deck material to match the existing patios that are on site. And the only hard concrete surface would be the coping around the pool.
And where does all the impervious material go in terms of the structure that we're reviewing? Is it fully surround the building?
Yeah,
I
it's fully
can't tell.
surrounding the pool.
Right.
There's a small sidewalk accessing the storage room and accessing the rear pool equipment, and small sidewalks that go down. It's a grade change of about 3 feet from the spa level to the cabana and pool level. So it's a small sidewalk with steps leading down from the upper terraces down.
Okay, thank you.
Charlie, any comments?
No questions or comments.
I just had one question back to Peter. I know Mr. Donahue mentioned that the forester had looked at the ash trees are going to be removed and didn't believe they were significant, although there is no reference in the staff report to an inch for inch replacement. Are we going to require that or not?
I believe there is some landscaping that's proposed around
We are proposing landscaping as a buffer, basically, between the backyard soccer area and the pool, just to help mitigate errant balls from, flying into the pool, soccer balls, and just to soften the area between the two functions. Minor foundation landscaping around the pool cabana, but the landscaping will be consistent with the landscaping that is already at the house. The same landscape architect, Pugsley and LaHaye, will be doing the landscape plans and installations. So, as you can see, the existing house is heavily matured and beautifully landscaped, and that level and consistency will be maintained at this area.
Yeah, believe me, my question almost seems a bit moot because of the amount of landscaping and the growth around the home, and I understand that. However, just from a consistency standpoint, I think we should require, due to the removal of the trees, an inch-for-inch replacement as a part of the landscape plan.
I think it's appropriate for the board to require it, and we can work with the city forester to determine where it's appropriate to add that. And in some cases, given the amount of landscaping, there may not be something that needs to be directly associated or adjacent to the cabana, but there may be some other area. And
given that the trees are being removed near where the cabana is being installed, I think it'd be appropriate to have them look at it. Okay, thank you. At this point, I'd ask for anyone.
I have another question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you. On the front elevation, could you explain the roof line above the outdoor kitchen bar area?
Sure, let me.
Is there an added piece, or is it all a continuous roof from that point?
Pull up the elevation. Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, is there an added piece at that, is that a continuous roof out there, or is there an addition?
At this
Oh,
portion?
yes.
It's a continuation of the sweep at the tail of the eave lines.
Okay.
So it does project out. The current overhangs of the house are at 12 inches, and so the majority of the pool house overhangs will be at 12 inches, except at this corner, which will go to 3 feet, supported by posts and brackets.
I think on the rear elevation, you can sort of see the extension, what he's talking about there. It is,
I do see that, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
over the bar area, it's covered
I see that.
by the 3 feet and then supported by brackets, but you kind of get you get an idea from that rear view of how it overhangs. And it doesn't come all the way back to the north end of the building.
As well as the side elevation.
Yeah,
This
yeah, there you go,
portion
that's even better. Yeah.
projects out 3 feet.
That's a better view.
And the purpose of that is for sound protection over people sitting at the bar counter there.
Right, I was just concerned if you thought there should be some symmetry, since this is your front elevation and that roof line from that point to, and then on the other side.
The house really, if you look at the architecture, it's asymmetrical. It has similar forms, but the elements on the house are intentionally asymmetrical.
Okay.
And so if you look at the front elevation of this, it kind of, mimics the asymmetry of the existing house.
Okay. At this point, is there anyone in the audience who would like to make comments or submit testimony? I guess not. I'll bring it back to city staff for any final comments. Thanks, Peter. At this point, take it to the board for discussion or any further deliberation on the petition.
I have, I guess, one question kind of to staff. The pool is a totally separate issue. And there'll be permits issued for that, and to make sure the proper fencing and everything else is, and that's not part of what we're talking about here. We're just talking about the cabana.
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
Any other comments, Lloyd, anything else?
Oh, just an observation that everything here appears to be consistent with the requirements of a building scale variance, and the proposed improvement is secluded and doesn't seem to offer any significant imposition to neighbors in the surrounding area. My concern, as always, is that we understand this is being considered on a case-by-case basis and doesn't establish any kind of precedent that would subsequently allow a gold rush mentality when it comes to seeking these kinds of variances. But in this particular instance, I endorse the project, and think it will be just fine to approve a variance.
Else? Peggy, any other further comments?
No, thank you.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to echo what Lloyd said. I think, Mr. Downey, you mentioned, and it correctly so, that the yard is uniquely screened by both the house and the landscaping. And, 4 or 5% variance, while all of us are sensitive to the building scale ordinance, I think because of the nature of the location and the lot and the home on the lot, I think it lends itself to more screening and a lot more seclusion. And so I think as well, given you've done, I think, a really nice job on the design to match the home.
Thank you.
So it looks very nice. So I also would agree that we'd be supportive of that. So,
Thank you.
any other comments? I ask for a motion on the petition on the floor.
I'll give it a try. I move that we approve the building scale variance for the pool cabana at 701 Leland Court, along with the recommendations by staff and the additional recommendation that the any removal of any trees be covered by an inch-by-inch replacement on the lot.
Do we have a second on the motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Culbertson. Any further discussion or comments on the motion? Hearing none, I'll take the motion to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion's approved. Congratulations, Mr. Donahue. Mr. Shep, thank you.
Thank you.
The fourth item on the agenda this evening is the opportunity to have the public address the board on non-agenda items, and seeing no one other than the last petitioner in the audience, I assume there's no one to address those issues. The final item on the agenda tonight is any additional information or comments from staff. Peter?
Since we won't see you all again before the end of the year, just wish you all happy holidays. And at this point, I believe we will have a January meeting. If the meeting's canceled, though, we'll certainly let you know within the next week or two.
Great.
Thank you.
Peter, and on behalf of all the board, to you and Kathy and Megan, happy holidays, happy new year. Thank you for all your great efforts throughout the year. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
That went quicker than I figured.